and welcome to the Gamers Table Independent Edition. It is Friday, and we're reviewing Migration.
Migration is a strategic land-grabbing game for 2 to 4 players. Though it's accessible to casual gamers, and kids as young as 5 can understand it, tactical thinkers aged 12 to 32 tend to get the most out of it.
Players take on the role of vast numbers of migratory explorers, establishing towns and game pieces over generations by playing them on a hexagonal grid of land. Each town is established or treated uniquely according to its type. When all the territory is filled up, leaving no more ways to establish towns, players count the points they earn from their towns, default 1 point each. The player with the most points wins! The game looks good. I mean, that goes without saying. Right from the time you pick up the box, and it looks like a old book of some sort. An old, like... A tome. Thank you! Off camera, a tome. But something like that, it makes you think, hey, this is going to be a really good game. This looks awesome. And then you get inside and look at some of the pieces, some of the components, and these cards, the pictures, the artwork on it is amazing. The little book, it's small and everything, but it looks good. It's got that same leather look feel to it. It's got all sorts of nice artwork in it. It's got all sorts of little icons. And then you start looking at what the game is all about. The game, it's really, really simple. It's very short, and I don't like how much of this rule book is flavor text when you're trying to look up something about one of the pieces you have. And the worst part is some of the stuff isn't even in here. It's only on the little reminder card.
When it should be in the rulebook.
Yes.
The one thing about though is he did separate the flavor texts and the game, well, the component rules or whatever, with a little box here and different types of font. So it's not really that bad. Once you breeze through it, you can tell pretty easily which is which here. But if you've never played it, I guess, before, you're not going to know that there might not be, or there might be some rules in that flavor text, but you got to read it all just to find that out. But once you know, you can quickly go to those boxes and find out where all the information is.
But unfortunately, those boxes don't cover everything about one particular guy even. It's like it doesn't cover everything about rats. It doesn't cover everything about sparrows. So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves on there. Well,
it is an abstract.
Yes.
Is what it is.
There are flies that can go on your devastated towns. Mm-hmm. There are rats who just are worth more. There is the oak, which is a pilgrim something town.
I'm going to let you try and figure it out.
Oh, look it up. Pioneer town. There's the bass, who is the only one who's going to let you start the game. Mm-hmm. And there's one more that I did not speak of, the sparrow. Mm-hmm. Dirty bird.
That one's for Sarah.
Yes.
Dirty bird.
Because this one can fly in a straight line across, dropping droppings all the way and wrecking other people's towns.
It's pretty nasty thought.
Yes.
But yeah, the rats are worth 2 points. And
an extra point.
Yeah.
Because some places they're worth 3 points.
Well, the rats are worth 2 points no matter what. But if you play, I think it's a 3 to 4 player side of the map here, the board, which, by the way, is the only board included in the game, so replayability, very limited. So you've got different zones on here. You've got, the sea and the land areas. You've got forest, which isn't included in this game. It's according to the rules, a future expansion, possible expansion. I don't know if it's actually going to come out or not. You've got another area here. I can't particularly remember the name of this right now. Might turn to blank on something, but it's little 3 circles, but they're worth an extra point for whatever town's on them at the end of the game.
That is a fertile region.
Fertile region. Maybe it's piles of manure. I don't know. And then you've got the mountainous areas or the rocky areas, which are unplayable in a 3-player game. And you got one little separate island over here, which you're not going to be able to get. There's no hexes in between, so I guess the only way to get over there is with the bass.
Yes.
It's the only way to get over there. So trying to get your rats on those fertile regions is obviously going to get you a lot of points. But to play a bass, you have to play it on a coastal region. And that's how you start your game. Everyone's going to play a bass. The like you said, the oak can be played, but you want to play it fairly soon into the game, will be another Pioneer starting area, like the Bass was. But every time you place a new tile, you're going to move your little Pioneer marker town onto that new tile piece. And it marks where you can expand from. You can't go back unless it's the oak. You can't go back anywhere. You have to keep going from where you are.
Okay, let's also point out at this point, you have this many different things. You have the rats, the bass, the birds,
You
whatever.
don't start with all of them.
You select some of them. Some of them you don't play with. I believe 3 of them you don't play with.
Yeah, I think there's 15 altogether.
Which means you could have a different loadout than somebody else. Maybe you only took 1 bass.
Which is
And if
silly.
you get cut off, now you can't start anywhere else. And if you didn't take an oak and haven't got the oak on the board, you're done. Your game is done. You will not be scoring any more points. You're basically out of the game.
Which is pretty much your own fault.
Yeah.
Knowing how the game plays, you want to take extra starting spots because
Being
with the
greedy,
sparrow
taking
in there,
moments.
it's going to destroy other towns.
But then you have the same game board that you're going to play with all the time. I mean the rule book suggests that the game is better with more players. Well, we can only play with a maximum of 4 players. We've played with 3 players on this most of the time. It is it can be a little chaotic, and it doesn't unfortunately hold my interest because there's so few things you can really do.
There's 2 different ways to move in this game or expand. There's just normal expansion, is going from your Pioneer town to the next spot. And then you move your little Pioneer town marker onto that new token. Or you can, like you said with the sparrow, or any of them, will move in a straight line, and the tiles in between that you don't place anything on you'll have to take out of your stock of tiles that you decided to play with at the start of the game and flip them over to a wasteland side. So you got to choose wisely which ones you're going to turn over for wasteland. You don't want it to be a bass or your oak, because you want to be able to start somewhere if somebody uses the sparrow to wipe out your towns in between. Now, migration is not wiping out any towns. It has to be a clear path. Only the sparrow can move a number of spaces and wipe out places in between. And on those wasteland spots,
The flies can...
flies.
Yes, there's shit all over the land. The flies can live there. Thematically, I mean, all the different animals work well together. It's just...
Well, I don't know about the rats.
It's really simple, and there's not a lot of spaces on the board, so you're quickly bumping into each other. You're using your sparrows or your migration to bomb other places, to wipe it out, to try and get them less points, but it's a fairly quick game, and it really feels like there's something missing. So, wrapping up for migration, theme is animals, species migrating, but making towns across a very, very small island and getting in each other's faces and causing each other difficulty as much as possible, which really isn't all that much. Easy to learn, fairly. There's the things, they don't have a lot of stuff, and they do come with all these the cheat cards that sort of remind you if you didn't pay any attention. Fun to play. That's where it sort of falls down to me. It's fun to play for the first few minutes, but then you realize this is just going to be the same thing over and over again, and there's only so much that I can do because it's so restrictive. I give Migration a 5. The artwork, though, brings it up because the artwork is beautiful. I would really like a deeper, more involved, bigger game using all the art assets that you've got here. I would like a game that lives up to the game box and the game art.
This really needs a book 2, because there's not enough to this game to make it replayable, at least for me anyway. Replayability is a big thing for me, whether a game's dressed up really nicely or not, or if the theme holds up or not. It's like, it can be crazy like this or Bang or something like that. As long as it's fun, I'm happy with it. I'll play it again. That is, for me, is great. But this, with the limited player board and just the limited scope of the game, is it's not going to get much more than a 5 for me. But I'm going to drop it down a little bit, just because this is basically just a dressed up. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say what the sparrows drop, but it's really not as in depth as I like it to be for replayability or anything like that. The artwork is terrific. I don't know why he made so many cards. Like these are just advertising. I suppose you can hand them out to your friends and everything like that. But I can't recommend this game to my friends because it's just for replayability. I just don't care for it. Like it's got potential, but it just needed to get some more boards, I suppose. That's my big issue with this, replayability. That's my big issue with most games. If I don't enjoy them, I'm not going to want to play them again. And this is very limited. So that's all it's going to get for me, 4.5. Most of that's going to go for the artwork and the packaging.
So that's it for this episode of the Gamers Table Independent Edition. Tune in next week where we review another independent game.
Because that's what we do. Or try to, without Chris here. Unfortunately, Chris has got a good reason for not being here.
Yeah.
Hope his mom feels better.
Yes. Hello and welcome to the Gamers Table Independent Edition. It is Friday.
I thought you were going to say addition. Independent addition. I can count on my own.
As soon as somebody does that the first time, everybody's going to make sure their towns aren't on a straight line, so you can't get so many of them.
Gotta have a place to land too.
And you can... Ken keeps yelling things from outside the studio, throwing me out, derailing the train like always.